Our Giving Back Award is not really given to specifically recognize companies that give back, although that's part of the reason we do it. It's mostly given to encourage all of us to realize there's so many different ways, so many different opportunities to give back, and by highlighting some of the wonderful ways that members and suppliers do that, we want to encourage all of you to find your own way. Find what the Lord puts on your heart to do, and you go do that. And our winner tonight, representing them and so many of you other here, is ConneXion.
With all of the great work that the affiliates and the suppliers are doing in giving back, I am so honored that AED has chosen to recognize the work that we're doing for our schools. God, these lights are bright. My first exposure to millennials was before it was a thing, and it goes back 8 years when David Rosenstein said, why don't you take this small group of interns and sit in the conference room and come up with a way that we can give back? So we did that, and we threw some ideas on the whiteboard, and some were pretty good, but nothing really resonated or really spoke to our core values. And it was at that time that I was reminded of an experience that my son had. He teaches science at a high school in the Chicago suburbs. And about 9 years ago, he went to Ghana, Africa, and he spent a month there. And he expressly went there to teach. And the school that he taught in had no resources of any kind. And so somehow he was able to make do with what he can find in his environment, and he was able to teach chemistry and earth science. And it was upon his trip home that he contacted his teacher peers. And what he wanted to do was to create a care package and round up as much equipment that he could and send it back to the school in Ghana. And it was during this process that he learned of how much lab equipment is thrown out when the more affluent schools are making ready for new equipment, or when a curriculum changes. There's new incoming equipment, so what do we do with the old stuff? We don't want to say, hey, we don't need the new stuff, so they throw it out. And my son Brandon was, at that point, he was putting all of this outgoing equipment in his car, and he was driving it to these schools. And I said, Brandon, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And that's where the idea of our program was born. So we created a portal where schools and science faculty members can contact us to pick up their used equipment, the equipment that still works but they no longer need. We then bring it into our warehouse, we inspect it, we make sure that everything works, then we reassemble this equipment into kits. We do an email blast to a database of about 300 teachers, and we announce that we have this equipment available. We have partnered with the Golden Apple in Chicago for the past few years, and their focus is on about 18 or 20 of the poorest schools in the inner city. And fortunately, that's where most of our equipment goes to. So we pick up and we re-deliver this equipment in the course of the orders that we ship to our customers, and we do this at no charge. When Ed Crawford was up here and he was kicking off the awards, he made a comment that we should make sure that we're recognizing the people back home. And our program could not work, it cannot work without the dedication and the passion that's been demonstrated by our operations team, our logistics teams who schedule these pickups, and our drivers who go through the special care and the time that it takes to make sure that this equipment is picked up or this equipment is dropped off, oftentimes to the teacher that requested it. So in that way, they embody our core values and they own it. They own this program and they make it work. So I'd like to thank our leadership team for believing in this program, for AED for recognizing it, and for our operations team in making it happen and owning it. Thank you.